as a coach, I think also how you communicate with, like, I guess, like just different athletes, right? You're gonna, similar problems, but there's a different way of addressing them with, like, each person,
Hmm.
and I think that becomes way more important, on my end, because you know what, I think especially we're talking about like um, advanced elite guys. There's almost a little bit of ego that comes with that because I mean that's kind of what got you there. It's like you step onto that platform or that stage. It's like you got to have this like deep belief in yourself that hey, you know, I deserve to do about this well in my sport, and it's an appropriate goal for me, and I'm going to pursue the hell out of it. Um, so communications, I think, man, I can think of a few guys where it's like I really have to know how to pace myself, and it's like okay, I got to keep their confidence high because that's a big part of what got us here. But at the same time, I also have to walk that tightrope where it's like okay, man, like we need to fix this. You need to fix this, in particular on
Hmm.
your end, because that's just not going to do if we want to go forward. So I think from a coach's perspective, I think that's where I think the soft skills like really have to shine. And you have to, again, like advance is going to look different on everyone, but that's where just experience really comes in because there's certain people it's like hey just grab them by the face mask, chew them out, throw them back in there, and it's corrected. Where with some other folks, you kind of have to take the back door and kind of have them get to that conclusion on their own. So yeah, because when you're intermediate, when you're a beginner, your life can kind of be on fire to some extent. You're still gonna make some
Yep.
progress, right? But when you're more advanced, it's like that's where just making sure all the other things in your life are kind of set up right. It's gonna matter a whole lot. And I think for a lot of folks, honestly, when they get to that phase, like that is one of the areas that we like need to address. And that combines a lot of things, right? Because it's like it's there's some psychological stuff in there. There's probably some nutrition, probably some of our recovery stuff, in regards to just sleep and how our whole day is set up. Like that matters. Um, and so yeah, what you do outside of the gym like tends to just matter more and more. Whereas like first 1, 2, 3 years of lifting, it's like as long as you're consistent, you work hard. For the most part, you're going to make some progress. It might slow you down a tad, but you're going to do well. But when you get to that point where you can see your ceiling, yeah, you need to have your personal stuff like a little bit more sorted out for sure.
Yeah, and I think for this is again, I think more specific to people who have a lot of potential, who have a lot of talent, who then are also advanced. Is that it's very difficult to establish some of those habits in the later stage of a career instead of as opposed to in kind of
Yeah,
this gradual way. Like I think Alberto, I think you're a great example of doing it right. Like I try to jump in with all of it at the same
some
time.
things. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, I'd say the process, not the
But I know what
actual
you're
like
talking about. Yeah,
outcome.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Like you were like, look, I'm just going to focus on protein. All right, look, I'm just going to try to get this right. All right, look, I'm going to get my schedule right. Look, I'm not going to miss any gym sessions. And you kind of like you stacked your habits up almost like unlocking more achievements that would help you to the next one. While I think I just was like, I've read everything. I'm going to do it all. And then when I develop some really unhealthy relationship with the sport, I'm surprised as to how this could have happened. Um, and everyone knows what I'm talking about because they've done it too. So I think, especially like in our little evidence-based community, like the over researching beforehand, but you don't like, it's easy to dismiss the small stuff when your talent produces huge results immediately, you know? Um, and I think if you are gifted enough to where you get to a relatively high level without having, crossed any of those T's or dotted any of those I's, and then you hit a plateau, and all of a sudden you might benefit from stacking up a whole bunch of little 1% chips to get that next 5 or 10%. That process can be difficult, and I think there, like you were saying, there is a lot to the soft skills of a coach of how you approach that. Like for example, I've never face mask grabbed Bryce because I just know that's just not the way his psychology
Yeah.
works. Um, and I think I've also there's been times in my career where I've been like, well, here's the 10 things we need to do. But as I become a more savvy coach, now I'm like, all right, here's 10 things we could do. I may not even bring them all up, but hey, what do you think you could implement in your life? And then that gives me insight into maybe which one of those 10 I might suggest and help you do. And then when that works, we see a little bit of progress from it. That gets the buy-in, and that sets that next domino up to fall.